oh, the progressives have no chance. But like I'm noticing with these progressive candidates actually like winning primaries, it's making Democrats have a bigger chance of winning.
Yeah, it's definitely creates a broader appeal, like for more people who are. It's like you got to go at one point. You can't always just be right. You can't always just be Republican light. You have to be actually carve out some real space on the Democratic Party. You can just be following the Republicans to the right wing of the political spectrum all the time. You gotta carve out your own way, if you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that seems to be what's going on mostly in the Southeast. Anything we're missing here in like Tennessee? Yeah.
Oh, Tennessee, yeah, Tennessee. I forgot all about Tennessee, actually. Tennessee, their Senate races actually look very good, actually. They have a moderate. He's not a progressive, Phil Bredesen, but
No.
he's actually the former governor of Tennessee, so people, have the name recognition of him. Most people probably know who he is. And a lot of the voters in Tennessee are old, so it's not like they don't know who Phil Bredesen is. The likeliness of Bredesen winning probably is going to be a little bit slightly lower, just because I think Blackburn might actually have a chance of winning now, because people there or more now, the Republicans are more fired up now in Tennessee. I'm noticing with a lot more polls now that are coming out that are nonpartisan. They have Blackburn up by like 3 or 4%. Some polls even have her up into the 8 and 9%. But I think this is going to be an interesting race as well to watch because, polls are always wrong sometimes. You really can't go off of polls. Like, that's why I try to not go off of polls. But that's just an example for some of the races that we have here. Tennessee is going to be a good race to watch. In my opinion, I think it's a toss-up, honestly. If I have to tilt it anywhere, I probably would say tilt Republican, as Tennessee typically will vote based off party, sadly, and not based off people. I think Bredesen would be a very good senator for Tennessee. He's more of like a McCain type guy. He's very moderate. He's like against the partisanship that's going on right now.
He has that maverick aspect in him. In him.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's definitely for bipartisanship. He's definitely for, reaching across the aisle and trying to get stuff done, which I think is very good and, needed for that state because Tennessee is not really a, liberal state. Only Memphis and Nashville are the only two really main spots where you got a lot of Democrats, but everywhere else in the state it's mostly farmland and a lot of conservatives.
Yeah, so that is kind of the typical like conservative farmer stereotype type thing. That is a little bit prevalent in Tennessee. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head west to Texas, and pretty much what I want to do is like focus everything going on in Texas. Just give us the rundown. What's going on there?
Well, Texas, the Senate race there is against Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke. That's also a very another interesting race. We got a lot of interesting races to watch this year with Senate races. Texas, I think, is one of the most interesting to watch because Ted Cruz is the incumbent. He's not very much liked in Texas. And Beto O'Rourke, he has actually a pretty good chance of winning in a state that people, again, would be like, wow, how could a Democrat win in that state? Because Texas is more conservative than it is liberal, but it is turning more liberal. I'm noticing even with the presidential elections, like Trump only won by 9 points, while McCain won by 31 points in 2008. So, I mean, that shows you a pretty big difference that, Texas is having with their demographics and their voting demographics. So do I think Beto O'Rourke will win? I think it's going to be a hard race, but you know what? I think he has a chance of winning more than Ted Cruz does because he's been outpacing with fundraising. More people are donating to Beto O'Rourke. Ted Cruz is getting with the majority of his money from big corporations and big PACs. So I would probably actually say this race is probably going to be also a toss-up, but if I have to tilt it, I probably would actually say tilt to the Democrats because I think that Beto O'Rourke will have a very good chance of winning due to the fact that the voter demographics are drastically changing in Texas and people are down there seem to be pretty fed up with what's going on with Ted Cruz and what's going on really in the country completely.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very tough, though, to combat some of these voter suppression laws. And we see a similar theme in Georgia and in Texas. Like the Republicans, they kind of built the system for Republican people to win after they came to power in 2010 for the census. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to head to Arizona, Colorado, and just New Mexico, pretty much the Southwest, other than California, because we're going to save our whole part for California. So what's going on with Arizona? Both Senate races are up for grabs.
Yeah, both Senate races are up for grabs. I think Arizona, what's going to happen is I think Arizona is actually going to be a pretty good race to watch. Kirsten Sinema is very bipartisan. She's the House member of Arizona's 7th Congressional District. She's part of the Blue Dog Democrat Coalition, which is basically a group of Democrats who believe in bipartisanship in the House and, try to reach across the aisle. She's actually voted with Trump 60% of the time while in Congress. So, she's actually voted more with the Republicans than the Democrats. That's going to be a very interesting race to watch because, honestly, she might not win because due to the fact that she's leaning more to the right with her voting record, she might not get a lot of the energized Democrat voters to be like, oh, I'm gonna be really happy to vote for Kirsten Sinema. But on the other hand, Martha McSally, she
Yeah.
had votes with Trump, I believe, like 95, 97% of the time, like a typical Republican would. And she's actually energized her base rather well in Arizona. Like the vets now are going for her more than for Kirsten Sinema. The new poll came out saying that 54% of vets support her over Kirsten Sinema, 7% are undecided. But, that's going to be a very good race, I think, personally, to watch because, that's going to be a drastic change as well for Arizona. I mean, Jeff Flake he votes with the Republicans, but he's like McCain. He's not afraid to say what he's against with what's going on right now in Washington. Like
Yeah,
how he
he is definitely
he
kind of
donated to Doug Jones.
he's a
He
vocal
donated,
opposition, but his actions definitely speak louder than his words, and
oh yeah,
his actions are definitely very conservative.
oh
Uh,
definitely.
all right, so now what do we got going on here with California?
California. Oh, that's okay. For people who don't know what California, how the primary works, is there are two Democrats running the general election. California has something called a jungle primary, where if I'm a registered Democrat, I can vote for whoever I want, whatever party they are on, really any person on the ballot. So if I'm a Democrat, I want to vote for a Green Party candidate, I can. Unlike most states where you have to only vote for your primary and you have to be either registered Democrat, Republican, or a party that has a primary. So if you're a Libertarian, that's the only really third party that usually will have a primary in like a state election. Like for New York, for example, they have those laws. A lot of states have those laws, but California is an interesting state. They have jungle primary, which I actually agree with a lot
Yeah,
because it gives voters actually like the choice to choose who they want to vote for. It's actually like real voter laws. They have Kevin De Leon, who I think is the Senate Majority Leader right now in California, and we have Dianne Feinstein, the incumbent. Right now, I think looking at everything that's going on in California, Kevin De Leon, in my opinion, doesn't only have a chance of winning, but I mean he might get a lot of percentage votes. Feinstein, for example, she has a lot of power, and for a powerful politician like her who has a lot of money, she has name recognition. People out there think she's a good senator. Um, so I think that it might go for. I think it's definitely probably go for Feinstein, but it might also have a chance of going for Leon. If anything could really change. The polls aren't always correct. You never really know what could happen out in a state like California because people can drastically change their opinion in an hour before they go to the polls. And it really also matters who goes out and votes because San Francisco, Burbank, Los Angeles, San Diego, those are really the big cities that have a lot of the, more left people who really go out and vote. But where Feinstein might win is like the more moderate areas where if Republicans actually go and vote, which they most likely will because the gubernatorial election out there has a Republican candidate, John Cox, who a lot of Republicans are actually energized to go out and vote for him. So they might be energized to actually go out and vote for Feinstein. But, I might be completely wrong. They might not even vote in that part of the ballot. They might just vote only for the gubernatorial and the ballot initiative to split California into 3 states, which that's also going to be very interesting to watch as well.
yeah,
They want to split California into 3 states. I believe it's like just California, North California, and South California. Um, they've tried to bring this ballot initiative for many years. It's being brought up by like a wealthy donor who donates actually a lot of money to. He donated a lot of money actually to Neil Kashkari, who tried to defeat Jerry Brown last gubernatorial election in 2014, but he did not win at all. But that's going to be very interesting to watch. I don't think that they're going to split it in 3, but it's going to be interesting to see if people are actually interested in doing that.
yeah. I mean, I think it's gotten just a lot of media coverage because primarily, like, it's being proposed on the ballot. It's pretty crazy. Like, it's pretty crazy, like, to make 3 more states or add 2 more states, really. But I think it's largely not going to show up. And the interesting thing is what you're saying with Feinstein. It's going to be very tough because it would definitely be an upset if Kevin De Leon pulls something off like that. All right, so we're just going to do broadly here. Middle of the country, places like South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana. Yeah, pretty much the middle of the country, the heartland of the country. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so like for example, Montana, they have John Tester and Matt Rosendale. Matt Rosendale, I believe, is the Attorney General for Montana. That's going to be a very interesting race as well to watch because John Tester is probably the second incumbent on my list who has a chance of actually losing his election. The first person on my list is Heidi Heitkamp. I'll get to her in a second. Jon Tester right now in Montana has actually a rather pretty good approval rating because he's voted back, a couple of years ago he was actually quite a moderate. Now he's more voting with Chuck Schumer, which, people out there, they might not realize that, but he does have a good approval rating. And so far on the polls, I think he's up at like 3 or 4%, which is, not pretty bad. I think it's probably going to go for Tester over Rosendale, as, Rosendale has some outside of the state deals, and also he's not even really, I don't think he's even from Montana. I believe he's actually from Maryland, if I'm correct. So I think that's also going to be an interesting race to watch. I think Tester's going to win that one. Now over to not Missouri, now over to North Dakota. Heidi Heitkamp, who is running there, she's the incumbent. She's probably the only Democrat who I can probably name off the list who's actually going to lose her seat this year. Kevin Cramer, the representative, which is basically a senator because there's no districts in North Dakota. It's an at-large district, so it's basically like having a senator. So everyone knows him. Kevin Cramer, I think, in my opinion, is definitely going to easily have a win there because North Dakota went for Trump by a huge margin. Heidi Heitkamp is voting a lot with Chuck Schumer, and she's not as moderate as she used to be.
The big vote was she voted to confirm Kavanaugh, which did not make her look good.
Yeah. Yeah, and she actually, the only Supreme Court justice she did shockingly vote to confirm was Gorsuch. And I think she did that to try to make it seem like, look, I will vote for one, but I will have reservations on another. I think it was more of a political stunt than her actually wanting to vote for Gorsuch.
Yeah, all right. So we got that part of it. Now we're moving to our last region of the country. We have Ohio, this is Wisconsin, Michigan. This is the Rust Belt here. It could be a very important part. West Virginia, it's probably the biggest part of the country so many people have been focusing on ever since it surprised everyone by pretty much electing Donald Trump. So where's it going to go? Have the Democrats been able to take back some seats there, or how's it working?
Well, West Virginia, we got Manchin and we got Patrick Morrisey there. Morrisey's, again, the Attorney General for West Virginia. That's going to be also another very interesting race to watch as well. I think Manchin's going to win rather easily, just because, he's like a dead center moderate. I mean, he voted for Kavanaugh, he voted for Gorsuch. He did not vote for I don't believe he voted for the tax cut bill, but I know that he did not vote for the health care bill either. He was on the fence with the tax bill, though. I do remember him being on the fence with that. He said that he would have voted for it if not a lot of West Virginians lost their health insurance off of that. So, in my opinion, I think he's going to easily win this one. I mean, they like him out in West Virginia. He's a dead center moderate, which is really what that state needs. I mean, they're pretty conservative out there. So, I mean, a conservative would probably much rather have, a moderate than like an ultra-left person who actually tried to run against him. I think it was Paula Jean SWRN.
Yes.
Yeah, who tried to run against him in the primary.
I was a big fan of her as she came up. It was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and Pennsylvania and Ohio, I think, are going to easily go Democrat there. That's like not even really a question. It's good to watch it, but Indiana's the race where I would probably watch as well. Indiana's an interesting race because we got Mike Braun, who's not even a politician. He was a politician, but he was only there for 2 years in the Indiana State of House of Representatives. He owns a trucking business, which has a lot of, prior criminal offenses. Where they're over. Their truck drivers are, over driving the amount of hours that are legally allowed. So people know about that. But, that's really another state where people, again, they vote for party. They don't really care about the person, it seems like, at least on the Republican side. Indiana went for Trump by a pretty good margin as well. Donnelly, he's quite a moderate. He's not ultra moderate. He's like Heidi Heitkamp. He's more of like, Joe Donnelly. Yeah, he's more of like he's like Heidi Heitkamp. He's like more moderate, but he tries to make it seem like even with the Supreme Court justice vote again, he voted for Kavanaugh. He did not vote for Kavanaugh. He voted for Gorsuch, but I think that he did that again for a political stunt. It seems more like to make it seem like he'll vote for some of Trump's people, but he won't vote for a couple of them to try to get the Democrat base still alive for him. And even with the tax cut bill, he said he would have voted for it if not. Again, with the healthcare coverage, if not a lot of Indians lost their healthcare coverage off that bill.
All right. So thank you so much, James, for joining us here today. We can't wait to have you back with the election and with the future because, it definitely seems like we will be needing your analysis in the future, but just based on whatever happens. Just before we go, just quickly,